Guys, Justin, PPC Pros. We're doing this video today about SEO, something we don't really talk about on the channel that often, but it's something that I think is worth covering. Obviously, we focus mainly on Google Ads, but believe it or not, we've done SEO for years in the past, and something that I felt like it'd be worth mentioning because a lot of water sports and tour operators want to use SEO. They don't want to pay per click, and it can be a great channel. It's a great long-term channel and a great way to generate leads. Sometimes it's even better than doing paid traffic. But again, you have to already have the rankings. You have to already get there. So we're going to cover some high level things when it comes to SEO for water sports and tour operators you want to be aware of and how to compete. There's some tidbits I'll put in these in between these slides that we'll just cover verbally here, but I want to kind of run you through this in just a few minutes and give you some thoughts. So SEO, if you don't know what it means, search engine optimization, it's basically how do you rank higher when somebody goes to Google or Bing or wherever, mainly Google, does a search for one of your tours or experiences, and how do you show up at the top? So some of the pros for SEO is that it attracts basically high quality people because they are looking for what you have to offer at that moment. It's really good. Sometimes there's obviously some research involved with it, but you really can't get a better prospect than somebody who's looking for what you offer in your market and coming to Google to find a provider or a solution for it. So reviews are also part of what people are going to see because we're going to talk about maps, the maps listing, Google Business Profile, whatever you want to call it. That is the best placement for rankings on a local level. And that's something that you're able to display your reviews. I'll show you what that looks like in just a minute. And then some of the cons for SEO, the things people don't like, is that it can take time to achieve results. You may be limited to where you can rank depending on where people are looking. For most tour operators, it's not a big deal. And then also, it depends on your competition. So we'll talk a little bit about that as well. But let's just jump right into the next slide here. So for SEO with local and with tour operators and water sports and things like that, and most local businesses in general, you're typically going to want to focus on Google Maps. There's a couple reasons why, but you can see right here, if you're not familiar with what I'm talking about, if you did a search for boat tours Miami, you're going to see these maps listings. A lot of times at the very top. Sometimes you've got Google Ads right above it. Another reason why I like ads. But very rarely will there be organic listings like your regular website listings above it. So I'll show you a live example. I'll pause the video in just a minute and hopefully not fumble things up too much. But basically, this is where you typically want to focus, is being in the top 3. Usually there's 2 to 3 results here. That's affectionately called the 3-pack. So you want to try to focus and rank in the 3-pack of Google Maps if you can. When it comes to some of the areas to focus on here, obviously you want to be number 1, but because reviews are such a big factor, and in this case you can see this guy's got 457 reviews, this one's got 250, that one's got 159. It's not always that there has to be more reviews to rank higher. It doesn't hurt to have more reviews in the competition, but you also want to have a better rating if you can. And these guys, the rating is pretty close. You're only off by a few points. When you have somebody who's got a lot of reviews in comparison and better ratings than the other people in the maps, that means they're going to get the lion's share of those calls most likely, assuming all things are otherwise equal. So reviews is a big way to help improve your conversions. It also is a ranking factor, meaning that if you have more reviews, they're recent, they're good, Google does favor you a bit, but it's definitely not the end-all be-all for ranking. So I just want to share with you, as far as maps listings go, this is where you want to rank as far as SEO goes. So I'm going to pause the video, I'm going to pull up the search, and I'll kind of show you where SEO has been in the past. It's really been focused on maps for the last few years, but just for people who may not have looked at this in a while. Give me just one sec. Okay, so I just did that same search. Now, search results. Let me try to get my head out of the way here if I can. Okay, I can't. Search results vary depending on how Google decides to show them, okay? That is just the way of the world. You cannot force it. Sometimes you'll see ads like this is an ad right here for Viator. This is an ad for TripAdvisor. This is an organic ranking for TripAdvisor. You don't often see an organic ranking above the maps. I'm not saying you never do, but in this case, you obviously do. And then you've got your maps listing, and then you got some questions that people also ask. And now here are your organic listings. This is what typically people focus on for SEO or used to focus on for SEO, you still want to be ranked here because there's some searches that Google does not show a map that you might still want to show for. I can't give you an example off the top of my head right now, but there are times that will come up, and usually when they're very specific searches, they're searches that may be a little more general in nature, or maybe a maps listing is not the best option according to Google. So you still want to focus on this, and a lot of times your local rankings will also, not always, but a lot of times they'll coincide with your Google Maps rankings. Meaning if you're ranking here for a keyword, chances are you may also be ranking here for a keyword. Again, not all the time. The one thing I will say, as you can tell, you see Get Your Guide is right here. You can see TripAdvisor is number 1. When it comes to ranking in the organic and non-maps results, the OTAs kill it. I mean, they spend a ton of time and money to show up for these searches. So you will have a much tougher time getting there. Of course, you can see this guy's doing it. This is like the local kind of tourism board in Miami, I think. I could be wrong about that. Nope, it looks like it might be an operator. But so it gets a little bit tricky to win. You still can win, but you're going to be dealing with a lot of OTA competition. So let's jump back into the slides here. All right, so we mentioned focusing on Google Maps for views. Now, a couple important ranking factors. I'm going to just hold my head here out of the way. I can't. It won't let me. Oh, perfect. It did. So a couple important ranking factors. You want to optimize your Google My Business listing. If you don't know how to do this, definitely do some research. Hire an agency that knows what they're doing. If you need some help, let us know. But basically, your company name. So you don't want to reinvent a company name. Hopefully your company name, a lot of times if it has what you do, what people will be searching for in a location. For example, this is Miami Speedboat Tours. My search was Boat Tours Miami. They've got some of the keywords in there not perfectly. That's a good chance for them to rank. And as you see, they were number 2. That may not be the only reason why, but having popular keywords as part of your business name in Google Maps is a big help. Again, be careful with this. How about that in the next slide? Your category, choosing your category. This is boat tour agency, boat tour agency, boat tour agency. You want to choose the right category for your business. Sometimes it's good to look at the competition and see what their category is. In this case, you see boat tour agency. So chances are, if you want to rank here, you probably want to also be a boat tour agency. All right, that's just common sense, but just choose your category wisely. There's also other categories you could choose, but you want your main category to be what that is. Your description, you get a description, which you can't see here, but if you create a Google Maps listing, Google Business Profile listing, there is a description. You can use things that you do, other ancillary keywords, basically describe maybe other things people will be looking for. Description is the way you might search for tours. So maybe, sunset tours are mentioned there. Maybe you do dolphin tours, whatever it is. Those can be mentioned in your description. And I would say fill it out pretty completely. You don't have to make it a long love story, but just definitely put something in there that's descriptive that helps Google understand what the products and services you offer are. A completed profile. So you want to actually complete the profile. It'll show you like how much left you have to complete. Just go through the process, add photos, add all these things, add your hours, of course your hours. But the things you may not think to add, just add them. Google rewards you in some ways by knowing that the information is complete. And I think they feel more confident about it. I can't say you're going to see a direct correlation to ranking, but I definitely think they're going to favor people who have a complete profile over those that don't, if that's the competition you're facing. And then relevant website content. We'll talk a little bit more about this with the on-page stuff. But typically you want to be linking to a website that has relevant content for what people will be looking for and what you want to rank for. And then lastly, third-party signals is kind of the wizardry in SEO, which is, outside of your website, what is Google finding about your business that helps you rank, okay? So let's go to the next slide here. And this is where I want to just kind of reinforce or maybe warn. You don't want to spam your profile. You do not want it to be like, your business name is something different, then you add like Miami Boat Tours at the end of it or something weird like that, right? I've seen people do this. It can work if you're trying to game the system, but it may not work for the long term. And Google is constantly combating spam in maps. And so it's better to play it safe, play it smart, because even if Google doesn't recognize it, people will report you. Your competitors will get you kicked out of the listings. And guess what? They just took your spot. So you definitely don't want to do that. Play it safe, play it smart, and just use real information. But again, get educated on this. Use an agency who knows what the heck they're doing. Don't just risk it, because if you do get kicked off, there's no guarantee you'll get back on or that you'll do it in any time soon. And that could cost your business a ton of money, you'll never recover from. So just play it safe, okay? All right, so let's talk about the two sides of SEO. There's on-page and there's off-page. What does that mean? On-page is basically your website, and in this case, you could also consider your Google Business Profile as part of that. Some of these things are not going to be relevant for your Google Business Profile, like meta tags, but you want to make sure you have the right meta tags on your website, the pages, the way your pages are structured. So meta tags being your meta title and description, that helps as well. Meta keywords, no one really uses anymore. Content with keywords. You want to have the content on your website related to the kinds of things you want to rank for. There's different ways to do that. You might want to use certain headlines, headline 1s, headline 2s, things like that. Again, this is not some of those things you just randomly put out there. There are a lot of tools that help you create an SEO optimized page that you can check out if you have like a WordPress website. There's things like Surfer SEO plugin that can help. Again, you still have to have a strategy, but those could help you as far as content and making sure you include the right keywords and things there. Structured data, that's going to be like your snippets on the website with your NAP, which is your name, address, phone number. We'll talk about in the next line there. And just other things, maybe review snippets, location snippets, things like that. And then site structure, how the site is overall structured, the way your pages link together, the way your pages are categorized as far as like the hierarchy. There are some ways that could be helpful for rankings. And then off-page, we're talking about off-page optimization. These are basically backlinks. It's creating authority and credibility signals. So those are things that tell Google, hey, this company is authoritative. This company is credible. This company's got good information. One piece of that is your NAP, your NAP, which stands for name, address, and phone number. Having that consistent across like a lot of the local directory sites is important. Not as important as it was years ago, but it is a factor where you want to make sure your information is consistent. That way Google will trust it. And the off-page optimization is the one that definitely takes you knowing what the heck you're doing. It can also be the one that bites you in the butt if you don't know what you're doing. So you want to be very careful with how you go about it. I would not recommend going to somewhere like Fiverr and buying the $50 or $100 3,000 backlink package kind of a thing. The days of that working are all but gone, unless you find somebody that does a good job and they're just really cheap, and that's miraculous. That's wonderful. So just be aware of that and what these two sides are. And again, the on-page might be one of those things that you don't have to do very often unless you add new things or you want to tweak stuff. The off-page is more of the ongoing stuff where you need to be careful and have a plan and know what the heck you're doing. Things to prepare for. So if you're going to do SEO, a couple things to keep in mind you want to be ready for. Number one is be patient. A lot of times you're going to have to outrank your competitors, even if you're always outranking your competitors, but either way, it can just take time. SEO is not something that happens overnight. It's going to take 3, 6, up to 12 months sometimes, depending on the search term you're going after, the market that you're in, who you're up against. So you have to be ready and be patient and realize this is a long-term investment for your company. This is not a quick fix. You don't do this a month before season starts. You do this during off season. You do this during do it this season for next season, right? You work on this over time, so you'll be in a good position to really cash in when your rankings are there. And then also Google changes. Google changes all the time. Like their goal is to, for the most part, outsmart and outwit SEO companies. So they want to sell paid ads. They want organic rankings that stay on their own. It's quite subjective though, because the good SEOs are doing things that Google wants. Like that's really what good SEO is. But at the same time, they recognize when people are trying to game the system and they're constantly changing things. They'll update their algorithm that might cost you rankings. Maybe you're ranking today. They do an update and you lose your rankings. It might be, for a week, it might be for 2 months, it might be forever. It just depends on what Google does and why they did it. There is no way you can stay in front of that. Google does not tell you what they're going to do. Otherwise, it would be ineffective. So just be ready for swings in performance and don't get upset at your SEO person for that. It's not their fault. They definitely didn't do it. They don't want to have to hear from you about why you lost rankings, right? They want to be the hero. So just bear in mind that you are working kind of on the opposite side of what Google is trying to do for the most part. And then your competition. I kind of mentioned that with the time thing, but if you are just starting out your SEO journey, or now you're starting to take it seriously, right? Now you're actually doing stuff with it, and you're competing with companies that have been doing it correctly for years, it probably won't be as easy or as fast in some cases as you hope. Now, if you have a really good SEO person, that could be different. If they got really bad SEO people, that could be different. But just realize you're the new guy on the block in a lot of ways. Maybe not by years in business, but maybe by in terms of what you're trying to do for SEO. So you're not going to just come in the market and unseat people who have been there for years, who are investing in their SEO, who are doing things right. It's going to take time, it's going to take effort, and it may never happen, to be completely honest with you. You may never do it. Maybe your investment in SEO is $1,000 a month and they're spending 3 times as much as you. Well, good luck. I mean, it's going to be difficult unless they really have a bad SEO who's just overcharging them. If you're doing good work with the same amount of work per dollar, it's going to be a tough win for you. So just saying that right up front. So there's nothing you could, no blowing smoke here. And then low-hanging fruit. It might make sense in the beginning if you are new or if you just want to get started. Focus on the keywords that are on page 2 or page 3 of Google already, things that you're kind of winning for but not quite there on, before you go after the big, heavy, competitive terms. Of course, you want to go after them at some point, and maybe that's all there is, just a few head terms that you want to go after. But if you can get some small wins and start getting some leads and some calls for keywords that are a little bit less searched but less competitive, that might make sense for you. So just think about things like that and be prepared for what you're going to get, which is waiting, which is changing in algorithms, which is maybe starting off slower than you wanted. But those are really important things to know and to be prepared for. So that is just a quick overview of SEO for Watersports and Tours and local businesses in general, to be honest with you. So just be ready for that, and hope it helps. If you have any questions, let me know. I'll get you the answers I can. And thanks for watching. Take care and God bless.